The bus jerked violently as it swerved through morning traffic, and Emma Carter nearly lost her balance. Sorry, she muttered as her hand shot forward to steady herself on the metal pole. Her heart was already racing before she even checked the time again. 8:19 a.m. Her interview was at 9 a.m., and she was still stuck in traffic. Move. Can you people move back? The conductor shouted, forcing more passengers into an already overcrowded bus. Emma stood squeezed between a woman carrying a basket of tomatoes and a man blasting music from his phone. Sweat clung to her forehead. Her bag pressed tightly against her chest like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Today could not go wrong. It couldn't. If she got this job at Lawson Enterprises, everything would change. Her mother's hospital bills. The rent notice sitting on the kitchen table. The empty fridge she had pretended not to notice last night. She swallowed hard and whispered to herself, "Just get there. Just get there." At the next stop, the bus screeched again. The door opened slowly, and an elderly man stepped in. He moved carefully, holding a small worn bag. His posture was slightly bent, and his breathing looked heavy. He looked like someone who had worked hard all his life and had nothing left to show for it. No one moved. Not a single person offered him a seat. The bus driver yelled for him to hurry, but the man struggled to step up. Emma noticed immediately. She looked away at first. Not because she didn't care, but because she was tired. So tired. Her legs already ached from standing. Her mind already overloaded with anxiety. She wasn't even sure she could survive the next 40 minutes standing like this. But then the bus jolted again, and the old man nearly stumbled. Emma's chest tightened. He caught himself, embarrassed, gripping the seat in front of him. Still, no one helped. A young man sitting closest simply shifted his gaze to the window. A woman scrolled through her phone like nothing was happening. Emma's fingers tightened around her bag strap. Her interview. Her only chance. She looked at the empty space she had been hoping to occupy in her mind for comfort, then back at the old man struggling to stand steady. Her throat went dry. "Come on, Emma," she whispered under her breath, as if arguing with herself. The bus hit another bump. The old man almost fell again. That was it. Emma exhaled sharply and stepped forward. "Sir," she said softly. The old man looked at her. For a moment, the entire bus noise seemed to fade in her head. "You can take my seat," she added. The bus didn't react at first. Then a few passengers turned slightly, surprised. The old man blinked slowly. "Are you sure, young lady?" Emma forced a small smile, even though her legs already felt like they were shaking. "Yes, sir. Please." He hesitated. "You look like you need it more than I do." A bitter laugh almost escaped her, but she held it back. "If I sit down, I won't forgive myself," she said quietly. That statement changed something in his expression. Slowly, the old man nodded. "Thank you." As he moved toward the seat, Emma stepped aside and gripped the pole instead. Her legs immediately screamed in protest. The seat was now right there, empty, calling her. But she didn't sit. Instead, she stared out of the window, watching the city rush by. A young man across from her scoffed under his breath. Some people like doing extra things. Emma heard it, but she said nothing. Because what hurt more wasn't his comment. It was the fear creeping into her chest. What if this decision costs her everything? If you're enjoying this story so far, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. It really helps more emotional stories like this reach you. Now let's continue. Emma adjusted her grip on the pole as the bus continued moving. The elderly man was now seated quietly. He looked calmer, but every few seconds he glanced at her like he wanted to say something more. "You didn't have to do that," he finally said. Emma gave a small shrug.
It's okay.
"It's okay. It's not okay," he replied gently. "People don't do things like that anymore." She smiled faintly, though her eyes were tired. Maybe they should. That simple exchange lingered between them. Then her phone vibrated. She quickly pulled it out. 8:41 a.m. Her heart dropped. No, she whispered. She was still far. The traffic ahead looked worse. The conductor shouted again, arguing with another bus in front. Emma's breath became uneven. "I'm going to be late," she said aloud without meaning to. The old man looked at her again. "Important day?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Job interview." He studied her quietly. "Where?" "Lawson Enterprises." Something flickered in his eyes, but it disappeared too quickly for her to notice. "That's a good company," he said simply. Emma gave a short laugh. "I hope they think I'm good enough." Silence followed. The bus slowed again. Emma leaned her head slightly against the pole, trying not to break down. Her legs hurt more now. Her mind was splitting between regret and hope. She looked at the seat again. Still empty. Still tempting. But she didn't move. Instead, she whispered, almost to herself, "Please let me make it." The old man heard her, and for the rest of the ride, he said nothing. But he kept watching her, like he was remembering something, like he was waiting. And Emma had no idea that the choice she made on this bus had already been seen by the one person who would decide her entire future. The bus finally screeched to a stop outside the business district, and Emma Carter almost fell forward as she rushed down the steps. "Thank you," she called out without even looking back properly. Her heart was pounding so hard it hurt. 8:56 a.m. She had 4 minutes. She broke into a run immediately, weaving through pedestrians, dodging a cyclist, nearly slipping on the curb. Her heels tapped aggressively against the pavement as she muttered under her breath, "Please, please, please." Behind her, the city felt loud but distant. Her focus was one thing only: Lawson Enterprises. She arrived at the towering glass building out of breath, her hair slightly messy, her blouse wrinkled from the bus struggle. The security guard glanced at her. "Interview candidate." "Yes," she said quickly, trying to steady her breathing. He checked her name and pointed her toward the elevator. "4th floor. You're almost late." "I know," she whispered, stepping in. Her reflection in the elevator mirror shocked her. She looked nothing like someone who deserved a job at a top company. She quickly fixed her hair with trembling fingers. "Just be confident," she told herself. "Just don't mess this up." The elevator doors opened. A sleek waiting area filled her view, and her confidence almost collapsed. Well-dressed candidates sat calmly, flipping through notes, smiling like they belonged there. Some wore expensive suits. Some looked completely relaxed, like they had already won. Emma suddenly felt small. She sat in a corner, clutching her CV tightly. One of the candidates glanced at her and whispered to another, "She looks lost." Emma heard it. She lowered her eyes. "Next candidate," a receptionist called. Her stomach dropped. This was it. She stood up slowly, smoothed her blouse, and walked toward the door. Each step felt heavier than the last. She pushed it open. Inside was a long table. 3 interviewers sat there. And in the center, Emma froze. Her breath stopped completely. The elderly man from the bus, sitting calmly, watching her. Her mind went blank. No sound. No thoughts. Just shock. "You," she whispered before she could stop herself. A faint, knowing smile appeared on his face. "Yes," he said softly. "We meet again." Emma's hands trembled. "You're here." One of the interviewers cleared his throat. "Miss Carter, please have a seat." She slowly sat down, her legs still weak. Her eyes kept drifting back to him. It couldn't be real. The same man she gave her seat to was sitting here like he owned the room. Because he did. The interview began, but Emma barely heard the first question. Her mind kept replaying the bus. The way he struggled. The way she stood. The way everyone ignored him. And now he was here, watching her. Finally, he spoke. "Miss Carter," he said calmly. "Before we begin, I have one question for you." Emma swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." "On the bus," he continued slowly, "you were late. You were tired. You had every reason to sit down." Her heart pounded harder. "Why did you give up your seat?" The room went silent. Even the other interviewers looked up, suddenly more interested. Emma's throat tightened. For a second, she thought about giving a perfect answer. Something safe. Something smart. But instead, she spoke honestly. "Because he looked like he needed it more than I did," she said quietly. A pause. Then she added, "And because I don't think I could live with myself if I ignored him." Silence stretched. The elderly man studied her carefully, long enough that it made her nervous. Then he leaned back slightly. "You know," he said, "most people today are very qualified on paper." Emma didn't move. "But very few," he continued, "have character when it matters." Her heart slowed slightly. One of the interviewers glanced at him, as if waiting for direction. The old man turned fully toward Emma. "Tell me something," he said. "If this job required you to choose between your comfort and helping a stranger again, what would you choose?" Emma didn't hesitate this time. "Helping," she said. A small nod. Then silence again. The room felt heavier than before. Finally, he stood slowly. Emma's breath caught. He looked at the other interviewers. "I've seen enough," he said. Emma's hands clenched under the table. This was it. Her failure. Or her ending. But then he turned to her, and everything changed. "Emma Carter," he said firmly. "Welcome to Lawson Enterprises." For a second, she didn't understand. Her brain refused to process it. "What?" A soft smile formed on his face. "You didn't just give up your seat," he said. "You showed me who you are when no one was watching." Emma's eyes filled instantly. "No one else saw it," she whispered. "I did," he replied. Her breath broke. Tears fell before she could stop them. "I got the job?" she asked, almost afraid to believe it. "Yes," he said simply. Her hands covered her mouth as she broke down completely. All the pressure, all the fear, all the sleepless nights collapsed at once. I don't know what to say," she cried. "Say nothing," he said gently. "Just do your best." She nodded repeatedly, wiping her tears. Outside the building later, Emma stood under the sunlight, holding her acceptance email on her phone. Her hands were still shaking. She whispered, "Mom, I got the job." Her voice cracked completely, and for the first time in a long time, she smiled through tears. Behind her, inside the building, Edward Lawson watched from his office window. His assistant spoke quietly. "She was the only one who passed your test." He nodded. "I know," he said, "because some choices don't just change your day. They change your entire life."